Ladies and gents, welcome back. We're only 2 days into the inquiry into the unprecedented use by the federal government of the Emergencies Act to quash a peaceful protest in Ottawa back in February. Now, the point of this inquiry is to give the chance to the federal government to demonstrate why they needed to use this act and prove that nationwide there were no laws on the books that would help alleviate the situation, and thus, therefore, they would need this act. They have not yet demonstrated in any of the testimony in these first 2 days. What we have seen is perhaps a possibility of obstruction of justice. Now, this from True North is a clip of Mathieu Fleury's testimony, where he was asked by cross-examiner to define microaggression, which he used several times throughout his testimony. Now, from some people who don't understand the term microaggression, the definition here is a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as racial or ethnic minority. Now, this comes from the left-wing school of words are, in fact, violence, and that's the term that they use it for. So it's only normal that cross-examiner would ask for a definition of the term, as it is not a normal term used in everyday language. Here's the response here.
In your evidence, you made use of a term you referred to as microaggression. Is that right?
I believe so, multiple times.
Okay. Is microaggression, is your understanding of that it means verbal and environmental slights?
Je suis francophone, donc si vous voulez être spécifique sur les mots, va falloir...
I'm francophone, so if you want to ask me specific things about words, you're going to have to ask me in French. You're asking me a theory about how to define something. Unfortunately, my knowledge of English terminology is perhaps not sufficiently appropriate, Commissioner.
Je m'appelle Brendan.
My name is Brendan.
So, funny scene at the inquiry there. Of course, Brendan here is not a French speaker. So, what would the reason behind answering this in French be in the first place? Now, most of us listening in at the time thought immediately his entire testimony was English. He's a perfect English speaker, making claims of a term, microaggressions, and why would he need to define this in French? Of course, an interesting question. Now, Rohan Kumar Paul, a friend of the channel here, he's also on YouTube under the Warcampaign channel, and I recommend you go check him out. Link, as always, in the description down below. Clever, catches the hot mic in which Ottawa City Councilor Catherine McKenney, who was also testifying along with Fleury here, was caught on the hot mic. Obstruction of justice in real time with Councilor Mathieu Fleury, so, well, let's just have a look at what is said here. Wow, hot mic.
In your evidence, you made use of a term you referred to as microaggression. Is that right?
I believe so, multiple times.
Okay. Is microaggression, is your understanding of that it means verbal and environmental slights?
Je suis francophone, donc si vous voulez être spécifique sur les mots, va falloir que vous me demandiez en français. Parce que...
Oh, wait a second. Did he respond in French because of the discrepancy between understanding what the meaning of a word was in French or English, or was it because of the coaching from this council member here, Catherine McKenney, who said in the beginning, respond in French. Now, who is Catherine McKenney? Well, Catherine McKenney is running to be your mayor. They, them. There's they, them pronouns. So they are running to be your mayor. They want to build a world-class society. If you paid attention to their testimony, you would note that a lot of the testimony had nothing to do with actually demonstrating why Ottawa needed, or the federal government needed, the use of the Emergencies Act, which is the purpose of this whole meeting, this whole inquiry is for that. No, it was a perfect opportunity for this individual to talk about how Mayor Jim Watson's leadership did a terrible job. So what was supposed to be a testimony into the use of the Emergencies Act felt like a public way of using their time to campaign for mayor of Ottawa. Now, in this, we have more hot mic moments here.
Emergency Commission, her true character.
Keep going, keep going. Now, again, I'll leave a link in the description for the full Rohan's full video, but I'm just showing the parts where it appears that she may be obstructing by coaching the witness to obstruct this event, which is very time pressing. It's time limited. They don't have a lot of time, and by wasting time in this inquiry, you're doing a disservice to the purpose of the inquiry and its use.
Vous me demandez une théorie là, de définition, puis malheureusement, je suis pas assez. Ma connaissance de la terminologie en anglais est peut-être inappropriée.
So this is at the moment when Brendan, the lawyer for the Freedom Convoy, turns away to get a translation device. He's not able to understand what is being said here, so he has to get a translation device so he can hear what is being said back in the testimony.
Monsieur le commissaire.
Well,
Monsieur le commissaire.
So a ass-eating grin on the face here of Catherine McKinney as they are reveling in the obstruction caused here to the testimony that is being said. Now, after which a translation device was given to the counsel here in cross-examination, to which he asked if a translation device could be given to the Mathieu Fleury so that he could understand what questions are actually being asked.
I think, you know, it is funny, but it's not. I am doing my very best to answer clear questions in English. You asked me a very specific question on a definition. I'm saying, ask me, clarify in French, and I'm glad to specify if it is yes or no. The specificity of the nuance of a word, I'm uncomfortable in responding to your question.
what of the words that I put to you, and there's a few, so means, verbal, and environmental, and slights is confusing?
Hands up.
Is there, which one are you confused about?
J'ai expliqué plusieurs fois.
I've already explained.
So at this point, the council now has the ability to translate, have the words translated for him, and now he's able to hear it.
Try to express this, and I've explained this to the commissioner, that to my mind, everything in the periphery of the red zone was what I would describe as being microaggressions. I could describe microaggressions to you. For example, go in front of somebody and pull their mask off. I don't know how we want to describe that as a definition, but that's an example of a microaggression.
So for based on the actual definition of a microaggression, as we had here, microaggression, a statement action incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority, that does not fall under the definition of a microaggression. So he's giving the act of actual aggression as a microaggression in this case.
Walking into a restaurant, being asked to leave, and sitting down without having the right to stay. That's another microaggression.
No, that's an act of trespass. That's not a microaggression as per the definition of a microaggression.
Fighting somebody who's homeless. Beating somebody who's homeless. That's another microaggression. Another type of aggression.
Clearly, the look on his face here, that is not a microaggression. That is an assault.
Making so much noise at such high volumes that you have to close down a daycare. That's another kind of aggression. That's how I've described aggressions, Commissioner. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a background in specifics, but I'm trying to use the terminology that I can to be as specific as possible to describe what I received as information and what I was able to see.
Get him a pair of these so he can understand what I'm saying in English as well, please.
That's mean.
Now that's funny because the whole point of him doing this in French, he's clearly an avid English speaker. Speaks English with no accent. Speaks French with no accent, as far as I can tell. I'm not a French speaker, but I saw people saying back and forth on Twitter whether or not he had an English accent in French. So there's an argument there. But it would seem that the whole point of this back and forth was for the instance of saying of actually causing obstruction, causing time delays within the testimony and the questions to be asked by the counsel here in cross-examination. And it would appear that Catherine McKinney, the individual here, I'm trying not to misgender anybody or mispronoun, seems to be reveling in glee in the obstruction that's happening here. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I don't want to keep this video going much longer, but of course, all the links to everything I just talked about in the description down below. Let me know what you think. Was this obstruction or was this just, you know, playing around on the stand? Nonetheless, I don't believe that there was any justification for the use of the Emergencies Act in their testimony. This was mostly about feeling. It was mostly about how the Ottawa City councillors or the Ottawa City mayor did not do a good job at the time, according to their opinion, not justification for the use of the Emergencies Act by the federal government. Anyway, leave a link or leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you're not yet subscribed, consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell. It lets you know when I go live, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.